All right, guys. This is LG with the Not Move podcast, and today we're going to be going over a little short segment about the Green Bay Packers. We're going to be talking about a little bit of our schedule here with Nathaniel here, our special guest. We're going to be going over our schedule, the Jair release. We're going to go over a little bit of our team roster, what we can do with it, and maybe the elevation our team can get to this year, as well as multiple other things within our division that's going on. So, we can't be casual around here. So we got to consider other things and other factors like that. And maybe what Jordan Love could improve on, or what he will be this year, and what we can expect about us in the playoffs. So first, we're gonna go over this in order. We're gonna go over the Jair release. Daniel, what do you think about the Jair release? Like,
So, I mean, yeah, it was a little heartbreaking seeing that he has been with the team for
about
uh,
5 years now.
5 years now,
Mhm.
right? But I mean, it comes down to a point where his best ability is his availability, and seeing that he hasn't been available the past 2 seasons, you know, it's hit and miss with me. Yes, he was a great lockdown corner, but then you're not becoming available for our team to actually utilize you in the way that you're supposed to be utilized, and you're
Mm.
not really wanting to play the game. So I mean, it came down to either you're gonna have to learn how to get healthy, or we're gonna have to release you.
Yeah, I think I this is the same heartbreak I felt with Bakhtiari. Um, David Bakhtiari had gotten injured so many times. He was the best left tackle in the league, or well, second best left tackle in the league, and we had to get rid of him because he got injured and he couldn't stay healthy at all. Now with the situation we had going on, a lot of times we still ended up winning games without Jair, though he was a huge help. We did go to the playoffs twice with Jordan Love because Jair was injured in 2023 before the playoffs.
Yep.
As well as this year, we went to the playoffs and we lost to the Super Bowl champs, of course, but it wasn't a horrible defensive game for our team. It would have been a nice addition to have Jair out there, but at the end of the day, what you said, his best ability was not reliability. He stayed injured. So let's go over the other situations in the NFC North, and let's start with the Vikings. And how do you think that they could challenge us or not challenge us at all this year?
Ooh. Okay. Um. The roster is pretty good. They've upgraded their O line,
Hmm.
definitely, and their defensive line is always stellar. It's just
Hmm.
it comes down to me looking at them as how good is JJ McCarthy going to be.
Okay.
You know, if
Yeah.
but I mean he's got Aaron Jones running behind that offensive line. He's got Jordan Addison, Jalen Naylor, Jay Jettas to throw the ball to, TJ Hawkinson. Like, I mean, he's got options. So I don't really see him not prevailing,
Hmm.
but you never know.
I um I have less faith in JJ McCarthy but I do have more faith in Kevin O'Connell. You look at Kevin O'Connell's QBs before they came to him. They were pretty much either garbage, mid, or okay. And you have your Kirk Cousins, who had a stellar year with all those comebacks. We all remember that. Those comebacks were insane. Um, we had Josh Dobbs in what 2023, just doing random stuff. He had multiple QBs that stepped up to the plate and got Jay Jettis those yards as well as winning them enough games because they got to the playoffs. They got to the playoffs in 22, if I'm not mistaken, and as well as they got to the playoffs this year. Though they were first round exits, those quarterbacks lasted them in to get to the playoffs, or they didn't last them in the playoffs. So what I think they're gonna do is I think we're gonna split with the Vikings. Potentially sweep them, but I think that's very hard to say because we haven't swept them in a while. So I think just off the premonition of Kevin O'Connell pretty much having our number or pretty much splitting with us all the time. I think we got to give the Vikings a fair chance to win against us every time they play us. You can't doubt them, even if we're home.
Yeah,
So
I mean, looking at it, when we play the Vikings, we do play them right after we play the Ravens, who have a star-studded, hard-hitting defense. So we might be a little banged up going into that game.
yeah, I think that game specifically we might rest. I think we might have our spot secured enough that we don't have to play our starters. Um, by that time, I don't think it's going to come down to week 17 like it did in 2023. For our playoffs wise speaking. Um, now, what do you think about the Bears, and what do you think they're going to do to us this
Nothing. I mean, I can't say nothing because the Bears did beat us last year for the first time since 2018.
year?
Um, but then again, I got to look at it. Yes, they upgraded their offensive line, but that wasn't. I mean, we weren't really getting pressure. We were just. It was the run game they were struggling with us against. I mean, we were. Josh Jacobs was just eating the Bears defense alive. So
Yeah, and I hate to say this, but I don't even consider that last loss because Jordan Love didn't play past half the second quarter, and Josh Jacobs was benched in the second half. So it's like,
yeah,
and it was still a close game with Malik Willis as the starting quarterback. So it's like, at the end of the day, they can brag about that. That's our championship, all they want. I don't see them doing anything different. They might win more games, but I still see the Bears getting swept by us this year. I don't care about last year. I think last year might have been a fluke in my opinion. Um, but I think that the defense is gonna give us a run for our money like they always do. Um, I think we might actually end up in a shootout with the Bears. But I think Jordan Love is has the high like Jordan Love at his best legitimately is arguably a top six quarterback at his best. We all know about Toyotathon Jordan Love, and I think Toyotathon Jordan Love could beat almost any quarterback in the league, and especially the Bears. I think we play most of our Bears late in later in the season, so that accounts too. So, what do you think Dan Campbell and the Detroit Lions are going to do this year against us?
so, and this is no hate towards the Detroit Lions. I have no hate against the Detroit Lions. I just have some hate towards their fans, but that's besides the point. Um, Historically in the NFL, after losing your offensive and defensive coordinator, you do not come out of the next season very well. I mean, you're coming in with two
Fresh
new
a
people
chicken with her
calling.
head cut off, in my opinion.
Yeah, like they're I don't know how they're going to be able to do it because I mean Ben Johnson was the best and so was
Aaron Glenn,
whatever the
Aaron
other
Glenn,
yeah,
Aaron
Aaron
Glenn.
Glenn. So I mean it just all comes down to if that squad is still talented enough to carry that team without the play calling.
Yeah, I think that too, but I think it's because of Dan Campbell's lack of play calling ability. If you look at how Dan Campbell performs, um, without those offensive coordinators, yes, I know they're a big factor, but kind of reminds me of Nick Sirianni. You have these players coaches that they prosper when they have the right pieces in front of them. So with Nick Sirianni, you see in 2023, everything completely falls apart because their defense and offensive coordinators were buns. And Nick Sirianni didn't seem to do anything about that. Every time his coordinator changes, his offensive scheme changes. And it's the same thing with Dan Campbell. He's a player's coach, but his play calling is subpar. If not any, I don't think it's even subpar. I don't think it's good. In my opinion. We've seen teams with a whole bunch of skill, but no coaching. We got the Jets. We have what was it? The team I'm thinking of. I don't remember the other team. I'm not gonna lie. But we've seen teams historically, in general, have a lot of talent and do absolutely nothing. So, I don't have faith in the Lions to win the division at all. I don't even have faith for them to get second because I don't trust Dan Campbell.
I
Um,
get that.
yeah, what do you think are record? Well, matter of fact, you have the schedule correct.
Yeah,
Can you bring up the first game of the year?
yeah.
We'll
Right
go
now
through
we're
each
looking
game.
at yep.
Okay.
We're looking at the Lions coming to Green Bay
Okay. Coming to Green Bay first week.
first
What are
week.
you taking there?
I mean, that all depends. Like I think the Lions are going to come out red hot. I think the Lions might actually beat us this game.
Okay.
Um, just with them, just based off their talent, I think they're going
Okay.
to come out red hot on this game and beat us.
I think they're going to come out this game too and beat us, but I think it's going to be a very close scoring game. I'm going to take it 25 to 27. I think we win by a field goal. I think we lose by a field goal.
Yeah,
Um, the their way of moving offense is way too efficient.
it is.
Yes. Hold on a second. You continue. Yes, ma'am.
So now we're on to more of okay. Um, we'll touch back on the record prediction here in a minute. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna touch on our draft selections this year. So our first round pick, Matthew Golden. Matthew Golden is a very talented wide receiver. Coming out of Texas, he he does lack size, but he makes up for it with speed and route running. His route running is very elite. He comes in, he came in very hot. Um, if you watched him in OTAs, I mean, his connection right now with Jordan Love is beyond amazing. And then around two, we came in with Anthony Belton. Anthony Belton is an offensive tackle coming straight from NC State. He's not too bad. He came in. It was definitely an off pick because I believe we should have went with somebody a little bit better on the offensive tackle side of the ball. Anthony Belton, he has great size. He's just he's not he's not at all around guy. He's really good at run blocking, but his pass blocking is he doesn't have a very great grade in. Um, he's not as strong as most people would like their offensive tackles to be. Um, and it's just baffling to me of how we took Anthony Belton in the second round when we had multiple better draft picks sitting there. Well,
So
hello, JB.
what are your expectations on Jordan Love this season?
So
What do you
my
expect from him? 'Cause I know he's had some injuries that have caused him to miss some time the last few years.
okay, we got to get ready for this one. So my thought on Jordan Love this year is, I mean, this is definitely going to be Jordan Love's test year, seeing that we got to play the NFC East, which is one of the better divisions, along with the AFC North, who is probably the best division in football. And I mean, we pretty much got a gauntlet, seeing that we still got to play our division, and always division games are really hard. Um, I just see Jordan Love. This is the year to show us, he is more than what people make him out to be, of just a model fit quarterback. I think Jordan Love is more of our franchise quarterback. I just need him to limit down on turnovers and stay a little bit more consistent from game to game.
What do you see as far as your guys' wide
Can you
receiver
repeat?
corps? Your wide receiver corps. What do you guys? What do you see going on with that? I know you guys got some talent over there. A lot of other teams in the NFL would love to have.
Yeah, we definitely got some good wide receivers. Seeing we just got Savion Williams coming in. I'm pretty sure I think he's about, and I'm not even going to lie. I think Savion Williams is closer to 6'5", coming in at about 225 pounds, 230 pounds. I know he runs a 4.4, but he's more of like a Debo Samuel type. I mean, we could play him out the backfield. We could throw him the ball deep. He's got the body size and the speed to jump up. I mean, he's got the height and everything that he needs to get up there and get the ball. Um, his route running is a little lackluster. I'm not gonna lie. Um, that's where Matthew Golden comes in. He's shorter. I think he's only 5'9", 5'10", but he runs a 4.2. He has an elite route running tree. He has elite speed. I mean, from what I've watched from his Texas years, I think he had elite hands. Elite catching. Uh, Moving on down the line, we got Jaden Reed, who is always starts out hot. Normally at the end of the season comes up a little slow, but we'll have to work with what we got with him. I think he could definitely be an elite receiver. Christian Watson, Christian Watson is definitely an interesting person. Christian Watson when his
Yeah, because I've heard a lot of talk like between you and LG. You guys are ready to pull the plug on that guy.
oh yeah, yeah. Seeing he can't stay healthy. I mean, I don't think he's played a full season since he's been in the NFL. If I'm being honest, and if he did, I don't remember it. And it might have been his first year. I know his first year was Aaron Rodgers' last year with Green Bay
Still,
Packers.
his first year, he wasn't in the game like that as a rookie.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he rarely played, and that I mean, and to be honest, that was because of his hands. Coming into the NFL, he couldn't even catch a cold. I mean, it was not very good. And then we got Romeo Dobbs. Romeo Dobbs is not very fast. I mean, I think our tight ends run a little bit faster than he does, but he does have elite hands. I will give it. I will give Romeo Dobbs that. I mean, anything you
Yeah, I
throw.
like Dobbs.
Yeah, I like him too. I wish he's
And
just a
so you
little bit
guys,
fast.
Green Bay's got a lot of players that a lot of teams, a lot of wide receivers, a lot of teams could use.
That's a good question. I don't know. I really don't know on that one. I mean, I think our bright spot this year's definitely got to be our defense. I mean, we added a little bit more defense in the draft. I mean, our last three picks was 4, 5, 6. And I might even think, yeah, our actual middle four pick, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Our first seventh round pick, we all took defense. So I'm hoping this upgrades our defense. Our defense last year was not great. I mean, it wasn't. It was about middle of the pack. I mean, we weren't awful, but we weren't great.
Yeah, I wasn't moved by your guys' defense, to be honest with you. And it just didn't seem like Jordan Love really gets up to speed till mid-season. You know,
No, I mean, isn't that like a Jordan Love thing though? Like he doesn't normally
Mm.
get win till about middle of the season. That's why.
Yeah, but you know as well as I do, man. You gotta get the full speed quicker than that.
Yeah, I
You're gonna
mean,
fall behind,
yeah, that's what
and
I
you
was
gotta
saying.
stay healthy on top of that. So, what are you guys gonna be doing at running back? Like, what do you guys got going on? What do are you pleased as well? Like, second question after that. What you guys are gonna do with running back, and then let me ask you, what are you pleased with what you guys addressed? for you guys' needs this year in the draft and off season?
I mean, Green Bay didn't really make any offseason moves. I mean, yeah, we picked up Nate Hobbs, who I've not really watched a lot of, seeing that he played on the Raiders. But from what I've told, is Nate Hobbs has definitely been one of the most underrated cornerbacks. Is what I've been told from. I haven't really got much to look into him on. Um, but I mean, we still got our young and talented safety in Evan Williams. We still got one of the best safeties, if not the best safety in the game, Xavier McKinney. Um, we're looking up in our secondary. It's just that linebacker core, which I think we did address a little bit this year. We picked up Colin Oliver out of Oklahoma State, I believe so. Quay Walker, when he came into the league, was definitely uh, one of the more dominant linebackers as a rookie. But then he came in, and second and third year, he hasn't really been looking up. And we got Edgerrin Cooper, who was in the running for defensive rookie of the year last year. And he had him a couple picks, a few good tackles for loss. So I mean, he was looking up. It's just you always like to have that secondary comeback linebacker.
All right, looks
Sorry
like
about that.
LG's back.
Yep, I'm back. Sorry about that.
All right, you're good. I'm gonna drop on down.
Okay. There was actually some things I disagreed with on you, Nathaniel. Our
Ooh.
defense. I think our defense was great.
Um, I do. But like I was saying, our pass game was great. I think we were struggling a little bit with the running game. Trying to contain Jahmyr Gibbs, which is one of the better running backs in the league. I think we were struggling with last year. But I mean, I can see where you're coming from. I mean, we still did, like I said, we had a middle of the pack. If not mistaken, I think we did have a top 10 defense last year. I would actually have to look that up. Um, but I was going over. We were talking about. I was doing our draft class. Talking about our number one, number two. So my question for you is, how did you feel about the Anthony Belton coming out of NC State at second round pick?
Uh, I didn't really believe in him. Really, it didn't really move me in that sense.
You know, that's kind of what I was touching on. Anthony Belton wasn't really moving me this year. I think there was definitely better picks to pick in that area right there. With the second round pick, we had the 54th pick in the second round. There was still talent out there. We needed to address the loss of Jair Alexander, which we did later on in the rounds, but
What
it's
position does
just.
he play?
Could you repeat that, JB?
Yeah, what position does he play?
Which one?
You guys' second round draft pick.
Oh,
You guys.
Anthony Belton. Anthony Belton played. He's an offensive tackle. Um, you know, seeing
But I
that we had.
mean, you guys not needing offensive help. I mean,
I mean, we had a top line last year. I mean, yeah, we had to shuffle around with the loss of our one of our guards. We had to shuffle around, or it was the loss of our center actually. So we had to shuffle one of our guards into our center position, which I think took one of our offensive tackles, and we're trying to train him to play guard. So I mean, Anthony Belton. I mean, I just think there was a better offensive tackle in the draft than Anthony Belton.
okay. What about your, I see you guys got Savion Williams at TCU in your third pick,
Yep.
and your D line from Texas. What are your thoughts on those guys right there?
Savion Williams is definitely a great pick. Like I was saying, our two receivers with Romeo Dobbs and Christian Watson have been staying hurt a lot. Um, it's more Christian Watson. He's been struggling with his hamstring. And them hamstring injuries, sometimes you don't ever really recover from. And Romeo Dobbs he's been staying in concussion protocol all the time. So it's a little hard for me to be like, well, we didn't really need a receiver, but I mean, we kind of did. So
Yeah, he's 6'4", 222. He's a big guy.
that's what I thought.
He's got a nice size. You guys went a lot on D lineman, man. You
Yeah,
guys
we did.
went in the sixth round. What, the fourth round? No. Yeah, you guys went fourth, fifth, and sixth. You all went D lineman.
Yeah.
You
Like I
guys
was
went
saying,
heavy in the trenches. You guys went O lineman in the seventh round, cornerback in the seventh as well. Then you went those three D linemen, wide receiver, tackle, and a wide receiver.
yep.
Skill and what you call it? Lineman. It's fire. What do you see your guys' record being this year? I know you guys were touching a little bit on that, but
I mean, I'm gonna have to go through game by game real quick and have to look at it and tell you what I'm thinking. Um, um, with me, I think looking at what I just predicted real fast, just going down the list, I had us looking at 13-4. But I think we could go anywhere from 10-7 to 13-4. I don't see us losing any more games than 7.
not bad. That's a bit.
I mean, we start out week 1 with the Lions. Like I said, the Lions always come out red hot. I think they just have enough talent to compete with us in every which way. So I think week 1 they'll beat us. Then we go down to week 2. We play the Commanders. That's Jaden Daniels versus Jordan Love. This is at Green
That'd be
Bay.
good.
Yeah, I just their defense last year was lackluster, and I know that they did address their defense, sort of, kinda. But then again, I don't know if they have enough to keep up with how Green Bay runs their offense, where we mix RPOs in and everything that we do. Week 3 we play the Browns. Sorry to say it, if we have any Browns fans out there listening, the Browns don't scare me. I don't even know who y'all's starting quarterback is right now. I don't even know who your number 1 wide receiver is. It's confusing to
God.
me. Week 4, we play the Cowboys. That's a tough one because they did just get George Pickens, and George Pickens is one of the most elite receivers and one of the most acrobatical, if that's saying it right, receivers we have. Um, then we go into our bye week but I did have us winning at Dallas. It's always been a thing with Green Bay and Dallas. They ain't never really lost. I mean, yeah, we do lose some games against Dallas. I don't think Dallas is going to come in week 4. Everybody's still trying to learn because they upgraded a lot, so everybody's still trying to build that connection with each other. It's still pretty early on in the season. I think we pull off the dub. If it was later on in the season, let's say week 10, week 11, I think they might have our number there.
All right.
So now we go into to week 5, which is our bye week.
So,
Um, then we go to week 6. This is where Joe Burr comes to Lambeau. We play the Bengals. I do. I think it's going to be a shootout. Um, I think they have too much offensive firepower for us to keep up with Jamar Chase and T Higgins. I'm trying to think of Andrade something. It, I don't really know how to pronounce his name, so I'm not even going to try.
yeah.
I know, but
Yeah.
I just know he was pretty good. I have us losing that game. You know, it's very hard to go into a shootout with a team that has so many weapons and can do so many things to you. Um, and especially with us not having, I mean, we do have a good defense. I just don't know if we have a good enough defense to contain, T Higgins and Jamar Chase for 4 quarters of the game. Then we come into week 7. We play the Cardinals. I mean, they got some weapons there. I mean, their defense is pretty nasty. I mean, they just got Will Campbell. They got Sean Murphy Bunting. They got Buda Baker. They got Max Melton, who I think is actually panning out really well over there.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, it's great. We're I just think coming into week 7 we're gonna pull that one off. I mean they got James Conner on offense. Kyler Murray, who I don't think is an actual bad quarterback. They got MG Marvin Harrison Jr. He's really good. He's coming out. I'm trying to think of that other dude's name. My, Michael Wilson. He's a great number 2. I mean he's probably one of the best number 2s you'll see in the league today. I just think Green Bay's defense. We have Carrington Valentine. We got Michael Robinson, who we just drafted out of Tulane. We got
Mm-hmm.
Xavier McKinney. We got Javon Bullard. We got enough people in our secondary to contain what they have going on.
What are you guys gonna do? How you guys gonna combat with losing Zaire?
Um, you know, so everybody's been asking me that question, and I really like this question because Jair is definitely a big loss. But
Mm-hmm.
I was watching a lot of tape on Carrington Valentine, and everybody's not really been watching Carrington Valentine like I have. Carrington Valentine in the last 2 years he has been in the league has led up 2 touchdowns. Yes, he
Yeah.
didn't play a lot. But I think Carrington Valentine can definitely come in and be our number 1 corner. He's got the size too. He's got the speed too. I just think he needs a little bit more learning how to cover. He does struggle with man coverage. That's why I'm glad we have Xavier McKinney. That might be the reason he's only let up two touchdowns. But that's it's a very difficult question
Oh
because
yeah,
Jack is
always.
definitely one of the greatest loss. But we'll see how he pans out over at the Ravens.
Yeah, I got a bad feeling he's gonna do pretty well over there.
Seeing that, this is not really a deep dive because this is Tinez is probably gonna hit this later. They have Kyle Hamilton. They got Nate Nate Wiggins. Now they got Jair Alexander paired up on the other side. I mean, that is a deadly, deadly core right there. I'm pretty sure they still got Marlon Humphreys if I'm not wrong.
Oh no, you're spot on. That whole take right there. It's a vicious squad.
I mean, that
What
team
do you
right
guys
there. That's
see?
like it's. Are you good? Continue.
I was gonna say, what do you see? How you see the division panning out for you guys? So Detroit, Minnesota, the Bears. I know a lot of people don't really care for the Bears, but they can be some bad news Bears this year. I mean, And we
You
hand
know,
out Drew, that guy Drew. Shout out to No Man Fantasy Sports.
absolutely. You know, like I said, then my guys, you just brought up No Man Fantasy. I don't know if Drew's watching or not. I'm sure if he is, I'll hear about this here in a minute. Um, you know, I think we've always got a game plan for going up against the Bears. You know, it is the oldest and probably the greatest rivalry in the NFL to date. Um, I just, I think, like me and LG were touching base on earlier, I think that last win they had against us was a fluke. Um, you know, we didn't have Jordan Love playing. We sat. I mean, Jordan Love played the first half of the game, and we were winning. We were up. And then we sat him the second half. Same thing we did with Josh Jacobs. Same thing we did with Jaden Reed. So that's why we had Emmanuel Wilson, who was a viable third or second option for a running back. We had Malik Willis, who was doing really well. So I mean, we got great backups, but I don't know if the backups are great enough to compete with the other teams, and I believe that's why the Bears got the best of us.
Mhm. So you think this is the year that Jordan Love takes that next step? Um, I mean, you guys take the division, you know, um, full strength, or um, how far in the playoffs do you think that you go?
Um, how far in the playoffs I think we go? That's a great question. Depending on what seed we end up, I think we're going to end up pulling off our division with a win here. So looking at it, uh, I think we could definitely get to the NFC Championship um, with Jordan Love and all the talent we have around him. As long as our defense can hold up and everybody can hold up throughout the season, I have wholeheartedly believe we can make it to the NFC Championship, not if not even the Super Bowl.
Oof, that's a that's a big that's a prediction right there. That's a take.
That's yeah, it's not a prediction. That's a take. It might be a hot one, but you know, I mean, the only people I believe standing in our way, um, you know, you got to look at the Eagles. The reigning champions, and you got to look at the Lions. But other than that, I don't feel anybody, putting pressure up against us.
I feel like that's where the NFC kind of divides and stops, is basically just the Lions, the Eagles, and the Pack.
And
Is
then,
that what you're
yeah, I mean,
saying? Or,
Drew might
so
beat me up for
Tampa,
this.
Tampa don't have no threat. They have no threat to this. He's saying that the Rams aren't capable of putting BTA to anybody.
Um,
I mean, you think the 49ers are washed and done up? Like, I mean, you're stirring the pot right there. I don't know. I
I'm,
mean, you just
I'm,
that's
I'm throwing shots. I
I
can
mean,
speak on
look, the
all that.
Cowboys, I mean, I got the Cowboys winning their division.
Ooh,
I
okay.
mean, there's
That's
people that got the Giants winning their division. I mean, you got another guy on my podcast. He thinks that the um Cowboys and the Commanders are gonna tie for first. Now, A Train. So I
A
mean,
train.
you there's a lot of teams that are in up and up, and that were pretty I mean, lack of a better word, pretty mid, that could have easily went into the playoffs and done something. I mean, shoot, look at the Giants years back, going in as the wild card. So like, you're over here counting people out. It sounds like, but you can't really do that.
I understand where you're coming from. So this is, I look off. I just look off history, and that's my problem.
Sure,
The
looking off of 1
49ers,
year,
yeah,
hypothetically, like, I mean, because you just said the only reason you're going with the Eagles, I mean, you say verbatim, but the reason why with the Eagles is they just won the Super Bowl, you
yeah,
know, and then Detroit, well, Detroit's obviously good, but see, here's the deal, is Detroit's going through pretty much a whole, not a rebuild per se, but I mean, they just lost their whole coaching staff.
yeah.
You
I
know,
mean,
so I mean, you just say that they're going to be up there. I mean, I ask, like, how can you say that? You know, and yet, what did they do to really get that much better in the off season when you got, you know, people say the same thing with the Chiefs, that the Chiefs, all these other teams are closing on the Chiefs, but I want to know is just like, did the Chiefs just stand still? No, but what did the Bears do, or what did the Lions do comparison to the Bears? I mean, the Bears, in my recollection, they went after and shored up their defense. Their offensive line. I mean, they went out and acquired some people, whereas as the Lions, to my recollection, just stayed stagnant. They just stayed the same. They got healthier.
so
You
so
know.
this is a conversation I do enjoy. I can, looking at the Eagles is kind of like for me, looking at the Chiefs, and I've had this conversation with multiple people. People are like,
Oh,
well,
God.
the Chiefs are, down and out, and I'm like, how can you say that when they consistently make the playoff, even consistently make a Super Bowl? And they're like, well, they downgraded, and I was like, how? Because my question is until you knock off Patrick Mahomes or now even Jalen Hurts, how can you be like, well, we're going to go to the Super Bowl? Because Patrick Mahomes is constantly there.
But see,
Brock
the thing
Purdy
is about
was.
that is you can't even just knock him off because Mahomes. Now it's gonna prove he'll prove after this year, but Mahomes is lost the Super Bowl and been able to go right back to the Super Bowl after a loss and win it.
Yes.
So like a lot of people I've heard they try to compare Mahomes or Brady's 10-year drought to what Mahomes could possibly be going through. But nothing in their careers are the same. The way that he's won is totally different than the way that he won. You know,
That is a good point. I mean, it was that defense that really won the Eagles that game. That
yeah.
defense was
And
killer.
Jalen Hurts did his thing.
Yeah, I mean, everybody hates on Jalen Hurts. I don't really.
He's not top five though.
No, no, no.
He's barely in top 10.
Yeah, I could agree with that. I would definitely put Jalen Hurts at least 7 or 8. I could name a few quarterbacks I would take over Jalen Hurts.
Yeah,
Hot take. Even though he's a regular season QB, Dak Prescott, he's pretty good when
we'll
he's
see how he
healthy.
does when he's healthy. Yeah, all quarterbacks seem to be pretty decent when they're healthy.
Um, it's just with us. I mean, the 49ers, they still got the talent, other than losing Debo Samuel. Um, it just looking to me, they relied a lot on Christian McCaffrey. And when I mean a lot, they relied a lot on Christian
Oh
McCaffrey.
yeah, and that's the thing is he coming back this year? Is if he
Uh,
does, is he even gonna be able to play any games? And if he does, was he gonna be is he gonna be effective or if as effective as he was?
so after watching, when we used to watch Christian McCaffrey, a couple first seasons he came into San Francisco in them years of Carolina. I mean, he was really explosive. I mean, he was coming out already hitting the line, already at full speed. And watching him now, I don't see the same explosiveness he had. I don't see the same Christian. It's hard for me to say. I don't see the same Christian McCaffrey that we have seen from Carolina to the first couple years that he had in San Francisco. But back on that, we come into week 8 with with the Steelers here. Um,
Yeah,
you,
what do you think? That's going to be a cool meeting. Rodgers and the Steelers, Green Bay.
you know, Aaron Rodgers definitely got a vendetta against us, seeing that we have drafted a wide receiver in the first round, while the whole time he was here, we never did. Sorry, Rodgers, but he got DK Metcalf now. Um, I just
Yeah,
that
but the way they did that situation over there in Pittsburgh, man, they
oh
really should have. They should have kept not only when they acquired DK, but it kept Pickens, kept uh uh Minka with Jalen.
yes,
They definitely would be a factor. You definitely could say, hey man, this team right here could be very, very good and on their way somewhere. Now it's just like I heard Jaw earlier in his, I believe it was his podcast when he did the Eagles with Robert earlier. They just traded. It's just like it's like you playing spades or not spades, but hearts, man. They just traded cards. It was, like I might have handed them a 4, 5, and 6, but they handed me a 2, 3, and 4, or 5, 6, 7, and 2, 3, and 4. It's the same thing. It's just different numbers. One's a little bit higher, one's a little bit lower. My eyes
yeah.
that everybody lost. They didn't really win anything. They just swapped capital and money and a name on a jersey.
I mean, they sent
It
they
was,
sent Mika back to where he was originally from.
yeah,
They got him from Miami. Minka is whew, Minka's been great for years. I mean, Minka has always been in the top conversation for
yep.
the best safety in the league. It's just this is how I look at it. Okay, they're looking at Jalen Ramsey, how Jacksonville Jaguars fan looks at Jalen Ramsey. They're like, okay, this is Jalen Ramsey, the best corner in the league. Jalen Ramsey is no longer the best corner in the league. You
No,
know,
he's not. He might go on to be the best, or one of the best safeties in the league. But the thing is, man, this dude is in his 30s. So
I
we'll
mean,
see.
the last time he looked good to me was, the Super Bowl that Carolina won. I mean, not Carolina, that the Rams won was the last time, Jalen Ramsey was, still top. And after that, what happened? Jalen Ramsey just excuse it, but I mean, he didn't perform anymore. He was slowing down.
Mhm.
Like, I mean, I understand that Jalen, you get old, but it's just it's bad to see that they gave up that much for a washed up
Yeah,
for a washed up corner.
yeah, no, I agree. Like I said, I think it's a lose lose. I think both franchises lost. Um, the better one, I don't know, man. Steelers might have won that one with the higher trade or pick value, maybe. Or maybe not because they turn around and paid Jalen even more money. So Miami really, I mean, this is something that's only gonna time will only tell between injury and success of the team. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But with that being said, man, we're gonna sign off here, man. I
absolutely.
appreciate you coming on, man. There's a little transparency with original host. He specializes with Green Bay. It's all right, man. That's what I'm here for. So. You have a good one, bro. This is
You
Not
too.
Move Podcast, Green Bay edition. We signing out.
Later.